What's up, everybody? I'm Chase Lee reporting for DallasMovieScreenings.com, and I got another movie to review for you guys, and that would be Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Now, this one comes from Sony Pictures Animation, which is the animation outlet of Sony, also in association with Marvel, so not Disney Marvel, but Sony Marvel. And this one is directed by three people. We have Bob Persichetti, I believe that's how you pronounce it, Peter Ramsey, and Rodney Rothman, who is also a co-writer with Phil Lord, and Phil Lord is one half of the Phil Lord and Chris Miller team that we have seen, kind of throughout the industry over the past several years. And Phil Lord and Chris Miller both produced it as well. So this one tells the story of Miles Morales, not Peter Parker, as Miles is a kid, just like Peter was, and he's got his family, he goes to school, and he's bitten by a different spider, if you will. And so something happens while Kingpin is kind of messing with a contraption, and they open up a portal to all these alternate universes, and there's a lot of stuff that pours in from their universes into Miles's universe, and it's a bunch of other spider women and men from many different timelines and universes, and so they all kind of like work together to figure out how to send them back home while also defeating Kingpin, while also having Miles grow up to be his own hero for the city and the kind of neighborhood that they need. So I was looking forward to this movie. I'm a huge superhero fan, Spider-Man fan, animated fan. It was just everything all in one. I was like, this is going to be something special. This is going to be something that we're going to remember as fans, animation fans, superhero fans, Spider-Man fans. We're going to remember this movie for a very long time. That's what I thought of when I saw this trailer. Saw the movie. All the hype you've been hearing is warranted. This is a fantastic film. And even with my little nitpicks, it's still a high grade. Make my top 10? I don't know yet. I'll have to think about it because I just saw it. But this is a fresh, exciting, heartfelt, and even gorgeous take on the Spider-Man story that we all know and love, and they update it with a different character that I think that hardcore fans and new fans will all appreciate. And I absolutely loved it. So to start with the directing, because this is where this movie, this and the writing and the voice acting is where this movie shines. What I thought the three directors did, which I have no idea who worked on what, but I can tell you right now they made a very cohesive, bright, fun, energetic, and just enthralling little animated movie that families can enjoy, kids can enjoy, adults can enjoy. And I thought they balanced everything really well. It was like watching a circus performer balance a bunch of spinning plates of like, here's humor over here, here's heartfelt, emotional, dramatic scenes over here, here's action scenes over here, here's the animation right here, here's the voice acting right here. Everything just balanced so well, and you're sitting there in awe because you're like, how did they do this? So, to kind of comment on the story and the characters and the way they kind of portrayed that, I thought this was a really well-rounded type of Spider-Man film where it was really funny. It strikes you with the perfect amount of humor. It strikes you with the emotional core and the heart that you want with the Spider-Man film. And with Miles Morales, it's a character we've never seen before. And so you have a new character that we have to instantly fall in love with. And within the first, 5 to 10 minutes, we already love this kid. And we're like, we want him to succeed. We want him to grow. We want him to be the hero that his neighborhood deserves. And so, there was a lot riding on this because it isn't a Peter Parker story. Yes, Peter Parker is in it, but this is all about Miles. And I thought what Miles brought, and this goes to Shameik Moore's performance, is that he brings the humor and the heart and the relatability, the authenticity. And at some points, I felt like I wasn't even watching an animated film. I was like, this could be a live action film. It just works out really well in animation. So I'm not going to complain. But there is just a lot to like about this movie, to where, you're laughing one minute, you're, kind of tearing up the next minute. It's just a really mature film that knows how to be colorful and bright for the kiddos, but also be very deep and rich with character and story for the adults and even some of the mid-range children. So I just thought the directing overall, from a story standpoint, from a character standpoint, was pretty spot on, and it was really great to see. A couple things within the story that kind of irked me just a little bit, and I will drive the grade down a hair because of this, but there is something that happens. I can't spoil it. So it's one of those things that happens, it's a reveal, and you're like, okay, I understand, because someone else earlier in the movie said that they might be into some shady, bad stuff. But I don't know, the reveal was just, it felt kind of lazy to me, and it was just like, oh, okay, all right, I guess we're moving on. So I don't know. It was the type of reveal to me that just, it felt like it was there to shock, like, the kids in the audience, but I don't know, it just didn't really work for me from a story perspective, and it just felt kind of forced and really unnecessary, and not really, even if it was necessary, it just wasn't developed that much. In terms of, like, when the reveal happens, we go, oh man, that was devastating. It was just more of like, okay. So there's that, and then another reveal that happened didn't bug me as much. It was just kind of like, once again, okay, because to be honest with you, we didn't really get that much screen time with the villains as the heroes, obviously, but you need to balance the two. The hero is only as good as its villain. Now, Kingpin is the main villain, and we get to see a couple flashbacks with him and Peter Parker's run-ins. But that's about it. It's not really anything that I go, oh man, the villains were just so good in this movie. They were fine, and a couple of the reveals felt a little lazy. Speaking of Kingpin, another gripe I have, the guy was animated too big. I realize that Kingpin is a big, intimidating person, and that's why, like, Vincent D'Onofrio on Daredevil portrays him so well, because he's a human who's a little bigger than Daredevil, and it works. This was like watching a flea go up against, like, a slice of bread, and you're like, why? Like, this is not how everyone is built in this world, because in this world that is created and so beautifully animated, we have people walking around the city that look like they're normally built people. And so Kingpin felt a little bit too big and wide. He seriously looked like a slice of bread. But that would be my only nitpick on the character design and the animation decision to do that to Kingpin. It didn't work for me in terms of a design for him, but the voice performance from, I believe it was Liev Schreiber, who voiced him, was fantastic. So to speak on the animation, stunning, beautiful. The directors took something that we all can accept in cinema, which is 3D animation. It could become boring in some movies. It could become, beautiful in other movies. What they did was, like, we're going to take 3D animation, and we're going to make it look hand-drawn 2D, and we're going to make it look like a comic book. So when it's playing as a movie, it's almost like you're flipping the pages through a comic book. And it was an interesting and creative animation style that I don't think I've ever seen before, played out in a mainstream movie. And it worked out because it was colorful, it was bright, it was fun and energetic for, like, the kids and, for us to kind of absorb as the adults, but it was also rich in detail, and it complemented the deep, rich characters. And so I was like, this is just a really stunning looking movie that in its action scenes play out like something on Cartoon Network, but then other scenes, it feels like it's a shot in a live action film. It's a wonderful blend that you don't think it would work, but it actually does for this type of movie, because this is science fiction. It's a boy shooting webs and climbing up walls. So, it's borderlines on fantasy, but, having that kind of, like, realistic look to it, to the city and some of the people, just makes it a really kind of complex looking animated film, and not something kind of, standard and by the books and something, a studio pumped out because they want to, make money as fast as possible and whatever. It's just like, this is the type of film to where you could look at and go, people took their time on this. Blood, sweat, and tears went into this movie. And it shows the passion and the creative drive behind this movie artistically is so kind of inspiring. You kind of watch it and you go, I kind of wish all anime movies would take this much passion and throw it up on the big screen. So, the animation style, it completely works. It's jagged, kind of like the Lego movie a little bit, but it flows just so beautifully when in the action scenes or like when they're talking, and it looks like a comic book. What a great visual choice. I totally stand by it. The voice performances. This is something not a lot of people are talking about in terms of the reviews for this movie. Everyone is so good that I couldn't even tell that was Jake Johnson anymore, or Shamik Moore, or John Mulvaney. It was just one of those instances where it was like a Toy Story or like Wreck-It Ralph, where like everyone was casted so perfectly that I was completely drawn in by their voices and their performances, the inflections in their performances and their characters, to where I couldn't even tell it was them half the time because I was so into the movie. But everyone does such a great job. When you are in a recording booth, it's very easy to overdo it or underdo it, or you could just be very bland and boring, but there's a lot of excitement in these voices. There's a lot of somber moments in these voices, and it just makes the characters and their growth and their arcs it just seems more grounded when they do it that way, and it just really helps with the story, and it just makes everything seem, just better. Just that little notch to care for your performances. It's just, it makes a difference in animated movies. You want to sell us on what we're seeing, because what we're seeing is a bunch of moving images, and, they're colorful, and they were made in a computer. But if you can have these lively performances, these really kind of well-rounded performances, it just makes the whole experience worth it. Everyone does a great job. Shamik Moore as Miles Morales. I cannot wait for the sequel. I can't wait for it. Like, he's such a great Miles, to where his growth from beginning to end, it matched what Shamik was doing in the recording booth, and it completely works. Jake Johnson is a fantastic Peter Parker. Who would have thought? But he brings his kind of improv charm a little bit to the comedy side, but then also when Jake really gets into a role and he really understands the kind of pathos that he needs to kind of draw from his performance, he can really deliver, and he does that with Peter Parker. And the last thing before I wrap it up, the soundtrack in the score is fantastic. It seems like it's all over the place, and you're like, man, this is all like different varieties of music, but they work in their respective scenes and the respective characters that are in those scenes, that everything just worked for me, to where like the song choices were pretty interesting. The score was really creative, especially for an animated family film. This is a PG film, and it like there were some scenes that played out like a very mature PG-13 superhero film. So, and it had to do with the music at some points. And some of the music was terrifying, which really worked for the villains when they were in their scenes. It's just, it was the type of score and soundtrack that you just like, you bobbed your head to when it was a really great pop song or rock song, and then, really kind of open up your eyes and just widen them in fear and terror or excitement when the score would play. It's so good. Guys, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is definitely one of the better Spider-Man films. I would even say it's better than Homecoming. This is the type of character and story that benefits so well from an animated style, and especially like this was such a huge risk, but they did it paid off, and I want to give a shout out to all the animators in this film. Such a wonderful job, to where this type of animation would rival anything from like a Pixar or like a DreamWorks. It's just, I wish Sony would do more stuff like this. And I'm glad they took a risk on this. So I'm going to give Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse an A-. So what did you guys think of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, or have you even heard of it? Comment in that places right below my face and let me know. And that will do it for this review, guys. I'm Chase Lee reporting for DallasMovieScreenings.com, and tune in next time for whatever I review next. I will see you guys later. Oh, I forgot to mention, Spider-Ham, John Mulvaney. Great voice casting. All the other Spider-Men and women are great, but Spider-Ham is just so funny. So, see you guys next time.